Hello, good day, everyone. Sir Kevin here again, and today we'll be discussing about project management. Uh, Three chapters. That's chapter 6, 7, and 8. And let me begin with this question: what contribute to that stress? What contribute to the stress? So there are reasons why, and we go back to the constraints of a project first. So a project constraints and elements consist of the time, resources, and your scope. And what contribute the problems there? What contribute to the problem? What adds up to the problem? It's what we call the stress. And uh, mis mismanagement of those resources and misimplementation may lead you to problems in the results of the project. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is we'll be discussing time management, conflicts, and other special topics in project management. Okay, so let's start first with the time management. Uh, okay, so let me quote you this: that time is the scarcest economic resource. You cannot do something about it. You cannot get it back when it's wasted. So I'll be requoting it. Time is the scarcest economic resource, and you cannot do something about it. You cannot get it back when it's wasted. So come to think about this. Your time doesn't extend, no, but your deadline do, no. Okay, so time are not extended or not piled up, no? Tulad nito, you only have 24 hours in a day. You have only 7 days in a week. You have only an average of 30 days in a month. And uh, in average we have 365 days. So, do we add something about it? Can we do something about it? No, 'di ba? What you can do is to manage things within those time, and that converts it to a resource, no? So, how can we do that as a resource? So, let's start with the discussion about chapter 6, time and stress management. Again, what is stress and what's time management? There are things for every time and time for everything, no? Especially in a project, you need to allocate activities within the time and a time for certain priorities, no? To avoid those what we call stress. So we'll be discussing at the latter part of this lesson is the stress management. So let's bear first about the idea of time and stress management. So according to the quotation earlier, that it's the scarcest resource and you cannot get it back when wasted because it's precarious, no? So managing projects within time, cost, and performance is easier than said and done, no? Okay? Madaling sabihin to manage a project, but using those constraints, that makes it complex and that makes it complicated. The project management environment is extremely turbulent, so it is ever changing. So according to my last YouTube video, what we've discussed there is um, managing and staffing employees. So you'll be picking the right one, no? So this time you'll be directing those people. Okay, so talking about people, people are variables, no? They have different emotions, they have different beliefs, they have different attitudes, they have different values, no? And they have different preferences in different situations. Of course, that is coming from their environment, their upbringing, and so many factors. That is why it is turbulent, no? So it's composed of numerous meetings. Now that contributes to the project. Along the time, everything is scheduled, and there will be things that are popping out. That's numerous meeting, just like in a school. No, nakaschedule yung mga syllabus. For example, the lessons to be tackled in a specific day. But there will be meetings. There will be uncertain situations. There that affects the attendances or the schedules for the discussion. So that affects, no? Report writing, conflict resolution. There will be conflicts that will be arising in a project. No, mamaya pag-uusapan natin 'yon. Then continuous planning and replanning, because you can see contingencies, you can see changes in and development of your project, no? And then communications with the customers. So of course, each now and then there will be communications. Then crisis management. Ideally, the effective project manager is a manager, not a doer. No? So, but in the real world, project managers often compromise their time by doing both. So they want to be that manager, and they compromise their time, no, para din sa ibang tao. So ganun kasi should be they do not do, but for the purpose of achieving some goals, they compromise, no, on their activities. So that happens. So disciplined time management is one of the keys to effective project management. So it is often said that if the project manager cannot control his own time, then he will control nothing else on the project. So that is very what do you call this? It's a truth, no? That it will reflect on you as a project manager. If you cannot control your own time, how can you control your the time frame and the activities of the project? So this lesson will highlight how will you do that soon that you you will be in your career paths, and you'll be project managers in the future, no? So you should have that discipline in time management, no? Again, I repeat what I mentioned earlier. Your time is precarious, and specific lang siya. Hindi siya tulad na ibang resources that you can add employees, that's human resources. You can add technical resources, so that you can add machineries to ramp up production. You can add financial resources, but you cannot add time if that's the matter, no? So in concept, you cannot do something about it, but to control or manage it. Okay, so uh, how what is time management? So for most people, time is a resource, no? When lost or misplaced, it's gone forever, no? So that's the idea in economics, no? For a project manager, however, time is more a constraint, no? As made mention with our past discussion, no? It's a constraint, and effective time management principles must be employed to make it a resource, no? For it to be a resource, it should not be wasted, diba? It should not be wasted, no? So you need to manage it properly, no? So most executives prefer to understaff project in the mistaken belief that project managers will assume the additional workload. But according to our discussion earlier, that it includes, no, the uh, that managers are not the doers, but managers are managers managing. There are different functions of managing. That's why there's directing, there's staffing, no? So eto yung minsan nakakaligtan ng executives, no? And that adds up to the problem of time management and the stress that they will be encountering in the project. Okay? The project managers may already be heavily burdened with meetings, report preparation, internal and external communication, conflict resolution, planning, replanning for crisis, and yet most project managers somehow manipulate their time to get the work done. So this is how flexible project managers are. That despite of being understaffed, and as mentioned earlier, that they also do the legwork at the very least to compromise with the objectives of the project, no? Ginagawa nila yon, no? At least nagagawa nila, no? Okay, so I hope that you are seeing this, but I have sent you the lectures about this. So the following questions should help the managers identify problem areas. So Do you have trouble completing work with the allocated deadline? So those are the questions in time management. No? How many interruptions are there each day? Those are basic questions, and that happens. Do you have a procedure for handling interruptions? So if you need a large block of uninterrupted time, is it available? With or without overtime? And how do you handle drop-in visitors and phone calls? These are the most encountered problems in the project management, no? Kasi if you're doing something and then there will be visitors, there will be immediate concerns, no? So how will you handle incoming mail? No? Do you have established procedures for routine work? No. Yun nga yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. That there are routinary work at as a manager you'll be allocating those schedules, you'll be planning those schedules, no? But there will be instances that those routines will be broken because of uncertainties, no, or uncontrolled variables, no. So are you accomplishing more or less, no, dun sa target mo, and then how difficult is it for you to say no, no? Eto kasi you as a manager, you need to say no in so many instances. So how do you approach detail work, no? Do you need to dive into that, or is that a role of a project line manager, the functional line manager? Do you perform work that should be handled by your subordinates, no? In leadership, if hindi magawa ng kasama mo, ikaw sasalo, no? Definitely that's also a problem of a project manager when things are not doing into the in good terms, no? So sasaluhin nga niya, and then the blame will be up to the project manager. That's why kailangan din yung leading as part of the skills ng isang project manager. So do you have sufficient time each day for personal interest, such as, di ba? So sobrang routinary ng work, nakakalimutan mo na yung human sense ng mga ginagawa nyo. That might be a thing. So do you still think about the job when you are away from the office? No, this is one of the things that many people are encountering. So do you make a list of things to do? If yes, so how are they prioritized? And then does your schedule have some degree of flexibility? No? Anyway, again, I have sent you this copy. No? So the project manager who can deal with these questions has a great opportunity to convert time from a constraint to a resource. No? Kung kaya niyang pagsabayin, kaya niyang gumit na, no? Mag-compromise na hindi naman nasisira yung achievement ng isang objective. Well, that's a great opportunity for a project manager, because we are encountering these time robbers, no? 'Di ba? Ito yung mga sinasabi ko sa inyo, that what are the things that contributes to that interruptions. So these are the time robbers. So the most challenging problem facing by the project manager is an inability to say no. Consider the situation in which an employee comes into your office with a problem. So you'll be encountering that if you're a project manager and your subordinates has problems, so what do you do? 'Di ba? So how will you handle that? Because at the very least, you're still responsible about them, because they are part of the resources of the project. Diba? They are part of the human resources. So the employee may be sincere when he say that he simply wants your advice, but more often than not, the employee wants to take the monkey off his back and put it into yours, and employee's problem is now your problem. Diba? Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, that the human sense of a project is, of course, that problems of personal problems, no? Kasi tao ka pa rin. At the very least, yes, there will be system, there will be policies, pero tao ka pa rin, no? That contributes to the time robbers. So what are those time robbers? And by the way, how do we handle those time robbers? We need to screen first, no? Screen out the problems which you do not wish to get involved. So if you think that you should not be involved with this because it's out of the problem of the company, no. Though I've watched some movie that might be happening in the real world, but it will really affect time, no, your schedules. One of the boss have made mention, I think that's a family history, yung boss ni Michael V, no. Sabi niya, may problema, bothered yung employee, so he took time to have that kwentuhan, and then sabi niya, your problem is my problem, which is true, technically true, and also humanly true, because at the very least you are accountable with your members, as well as they are part of the success, no, sa mga empleyado, nakasalalay din, no, isa sa mga dahilan ng success or failure ng isang project, no. So first you need to screen the problems, no. We'll be discussing that more in the conflicts. If the situation does not necessitate your involvement, then you must make sure then the employee leaves your office, he realizes the problem is still his and not yours, no. So screen mo muna. And then, if you find that problem will require your continued attention, remind the employee that all future decision will be joint decision, and that the problem will still be on the employee's shoulder. No? So, uh, yun, kung kailangan ng attention, then ibigay mo yung attention. However, no, there should be, yun nga, that all future decision will be joint decision. No? Okay? Na lalo na kung personal 'yan, so sa tao 'yon. But if the problem is about the organization and the project, dun mas bigyan mo ng time and so on. So once employees realize that they cannot put their problems on your shoulder, they learn how to make their own decision. That's what we call empowerment or challenging them. No? So what are those situations that robs time? No? What are those challenges that robs time? Okay? So, a job poorly done, anong incomplete work, telephone calls, mails, and emails, lack of adequate responsibilities and consumerate authority, and then changes without direct notification explanation, waiting for people, no? Ito depende sa schedule. You're still waiting for people. That's why naglalag yung trabaho. So, in a critical path method in the finals, pag-uusapan naman natin yun. Habang naghihintay ka sa ilang mga parts ng trabaho, natenga ka, and that robs time. No? Failure to delegate or unwise delegation, and then poor retrieval system, lack of information in ready-to-use format. So, yun. To sum it up, many of these are about communication. So, day-to-day administration, union grievances, so yung mga may problema. No? Having to explain thinking to superiors, too many levels of review, no? Masyadong marami yung mga procedure. Casual office conversation, yan, isa time robber yung kwentuhan. No? Misplaced information, shifting priorities and indecisions at any level. Ito pa, procrastination o yung masyadong paglalayo ng isip mo, no? Lumilipad ang isip mo, no? That might be a good thing, no? Pero not all the time. Okay? Setting up appointments, no? Yung meetings, so many meetings, monitoring delegated work, unclear roles and job description. This contributes to time wasted, yung monitoring of delegated work, and hindi clear yung job descriptions. Ang executive meeting, kasali na din yun, and the executive meddling. Budget adherence requirements, so yun, you'll be following procedures, policies. Poorly educated customers, so yun nga, nakaka-contribute din sa time robbers because you need to talk to them. Not enough proven managers, o yun, expertise naman. No? Vague goals and objectives, magulo yung gustong mangyari. So, lack of this job description, too many people involved, no, in minor decision making. And then, lack of technical knowledge, lack of authorization to make decisions, poor functional status reporting, work overload, and then unreasonable time constraints, too much travel, yun, lakwatsa, lack of adequate project management tool. So, eto ba? So, departmental backpassing. So, biglang pagpasa sa'yo ng ibang mga departments. Company politics contributes to that things that robs time. And then, going to from crisis to crisis. Then, conflicting directives, iba't ibang utos. Bureaucratic roadblocks, so yan, bureaucratic is because of the organizational structure. Empire building line managers, no? No communication between sales and engineering, that contributes to the problem. Excessive paperwork is also a consideration. No? Lack of clerical administrative support, dealing with unreliable subcontractor. Ito yung mga, kung ikaw nagpapagawa sa iba. Personal and not willing to take risk. Demand for short-term results. Lack of long-range planning. Learning new company system bago ka pa lang sa system. Poor lead time on projects, documentation, large number of projects, and desire for perfection. And lack of project organization, constant pressure, constant interruption, shifting functional personnel, and then lack of employee discipline, and lack of qualified manpower. Yun, sa staffing naman yun. Okay? So, what to do when you, what are those forms, no? How to manage time. So, this lecture will be teaching you two forms of time management. So there are two basic forms of project managers and project engineers can use practicing better time management. So the first form is to-do pad, and the second is the daily calendar log. So the project manager or the secretary prepares the list of things to do, and the project managers then decide which activity he must perform himself and assigns appropriate priority. So take a look at this illustration. So this is what we call the do pad, no? So the do pad, you just jot down the activities, and then if it is priority or not, so level of priority, and then the time you started or date you started, or anong proseso ka na, and ito yung parang completion checklist mo kung tapos na siya, no? Kung ano yun natapos mo is the to-do pad, no? Then you can do also, or you can use this daily calendar log, no? This is more specific, no? Specific yung mga activities mo sa bawat time. As you can see, no? I think ginagawa niyo na to personally, hindi niyo lang napapansin na calendar log na pala 'yon, no? Okay? So you'll be doing a date on a specific date, tapos may time ka, no? Your Google Calendar has that, no? Kung nag-a-alarm ka or meron kang gustong gawin. So, your time, let's say 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, anong gagawin mo? That's activity. Is this a priority, high-level priority? No, makikita mo doon, no? At ano yung gagawin mo, no? Will let you to do to manage your time. At least you know what you do every time frame. Okay? So, the daily calendar log, the activities with the highest priorities are then transferred to the daily calendar log. Yun yung sinasabi ko. The project managers assign these activities to the appropriate time blocks, no? So, specific time block. And unfilled time blocks are then used for unexpected crisis or for lower priority activities, no? So, if there are more priorities elements than time slot, the project managers may try to schedule well in advance, no? Anong mangyayari when you fail to plan your time, manage your time? First is mangangarag ka, cramming. Ikalawa is the quality. Yes, there are people that has good quality outputs whenever they cram. However, not all the time, because at some certainty, you get to be careless whenever we are doing that cramming thing, no? At nawawalan tayo ng pagpaplano. In fact, kung gagawa ka ng assignment, yung sa grammar lang hindi mo ma-check, 'di ba? If you try to do that at the end of the before the end of the day, no? So effective time management includes there are several techniques that the project managers can practice in order to make better use of their time. So they need to delegate, follow the schedule, decide fast, decide who should attend, no? So that's appointing. Learn to say no, start now, do the tough part first, that's prioritization, then travel light, work at travel stops. Kapag naghinto ka sa travel, so you work, no? So Minsan kasi yun nga, sa sobrang inuna natin yung pahinga, no? At the end of it, no, towards the deadline, tayo naman yung pagod, no? So it's not a reward din, no, yung rest, no? Okay, so avoid useless memos, refuse do the unimportant, no? Look ahead, ask is this trip necessary? Know your energy cycle, control telephone and email time, send out the meeting agenda because those things just pops out, no? Biglang lalabas na lang, no? Dadating na lang. So overcome procrastination and manage by expectations. So what are the rules for time management? So uh, conduct a time analysis, a time log, no? What do you do every time? Plan solid blocks of important things, classify your activities, establish priorities, and establish opportunity cost on activities. So if you do this first, what will happen? No? So that's a trade-off. Train your system, practice delegation, practice calculated neglect. So ano yung mga iiwanan mo muna? Practice management by exception, and then focus on opportunities and not your problems. So these are the essential questions that you need to answer in effective time management. So what am I doing that I don't have to do at all? Alin yung mga bagay na hindi ko naman muna pala dapat gawin? No? You should be asking about that. What am I doing that can done be better by someone else? So you need to delegate. So what are the things that you need to delegate? No? Number three, what am I doing that could be done as well by someone else? No? Okay, so pwede ding gawin ng iba. No? And am I establishing the right priorities for my activities? No? Alin ba dapat unahin at bigyan ng pansin? No? Those are the essential questions for effective time management. So, what uh, what are the effects of those problems? No? Kapag hindi mo nagawa ng maayos, hindi mo na plano na maayos yung time at hindi mo ginawa sa time na yon, meron biglang dumating, no? This results to stress and burnout. The factors that serve to make any occupation especially stressful are responsibilities without the authority or ability to exert control. Yung mga bigla ang dumarating. Yun yung nakaka-stress. Kasi, kung within the system yan, expected mo na, alam mo na. No? So, necessity for perfection and pressure of deadlines, role ambiguity, no? Magulo, role conflict, role overload, and crossing organizational boundaries, responsibility for action for subordinates because you're at the very least you're still the manager. You'll be handling people, and the necessity to keep up with the information explosions, no, or technological breakthroughs. No, project managers have all these factors in their job. No, you see how stressful a project manager is. Okay, so project manager has his resources controlled by line manager. No? Meron nagko-control sa inventory, meron nagko-control sa production, meron nagko-control sa meron tayong tinatawag na line managers. If you remember that staffing part no last period that we have established those functional lines, no, yung mga team members mo that will be doing that, no, yet the responsibilities of bringing a project to completion by a prescribed deadline are yung sa project manager. Project managers may be told to increase work output while the workforce is simultaneously being cut. So that's how stressful it is. No? Especially you are at the middle of the executive's decision and also the production objective. No? Habang kumukonti yung resources mo, madami naman yung output. Of course, you need to maximize things out. So that's where the role of a project manager and also effectively managing time is important. No, project managers are expected to work out on schedule, but are often not permitted to pay overtime. Yeah, that's a very concrete one, and this hurts a little bit. No? So one project manager described in this way that I have to implement plans I didn't design, but if the project fails, I'm responsible. That's a harsh reality. No? At the very least, you're still responsible in everything despite and in spite of those resources and those objectives na ibinibigay sa'yo, yung mga um, bureaucratic uh, um, direction na yung gusto nila ipagawa. Okay? So, ano yung magiging resulta ng stress sa isang tao? Being tired is one, feeling depressed, being physically and emotionally exhausted. I know you as students, you're feeling this because there's stress. And one contributing factor, again, hindi lang naman po ito, no? Pero isa sa mga dahilan is not time manage well. Ulitin ko, hindi lang ito yung dahilan, pero isa sa mga nangungunang dahilan, yung time manage well. I saw a post in Facebook, no, sabi niya, uh, nag nagpapasa ng sa deadline, tapos nangingi ng extension yung estudyante, no? Sumagot yung teacher, pwede ko bang malaman bakit? Kasi po sir, nag-TikTok po ako kanina tsaka nag-bike ako, no? And then right now magka-cram siya at nagpapa-extend ng deadline. So, you see that it's a primary factor. But again, ulitin ko just a bit of disclaimer. It's not the sole reason why. And there are different reasons, no? Okay? So I hope that you might reflect on this. No? So um, being burnt out, being unhappy, feeling trapped. I know you're feeling this, feeling worthless, resentless, and this illusion of people. Baka magalit siya, baka ganyan, baka ganyan tingin niya sa akin. No? Feeling hopeless and feeling rejected, and also feeling anxious. No? So those are the things that failure in time management and failure to do work na certain time and deadline entails different results, just like this stress. No, I hope that again you reflect on this. So that's the end of chapter 6, and we move immediately to chapter 7. We'll be dealing with conflicts. No, I am I am already introduced the idea earlier. No, that as a project manager, you'll be handling resource. And kanina, part of the resource and part of the constraint is the time. No? Economic perspective at saka yung project management perspective, time as a constraint. Now, um, we also have one of these constraints. It's the conflicts. No? And conflicts happen to people. And these are inevitable. I'll be quoting you this from Harold Kushner. Conflicts are way of life. No, ibig sabihin, it happens and it's inevitable, no? Because you're handling people, again as I mentioned earlier, you're handling people, and people have different preferences, different attitude, different beliefs, no? Different environment and upbringing, no? Different emotions a specific period of time, no? That's why it's important to know to deal and manage conflicts in an organization, particularly in a project wherein short period of time lang yan. No? So, time trial kasi, again, this is one of the time robbers, the conflict. Okay? So, how do we deal with that? So, the ability to handle conflicts requires understanding of why they occur. No? So, sabi nga, you analyze the situation. No? Why it is happening para mapigilan mo. So asking and answering these 4 questions may help you handle and prevent conflict. So first, what are the project objectives and are they in conflict with other projects? No, so you need to know the objectives of the project. Next is why do conflicts occur? Bakit nangyayari yan? So ano yung nagiging problema? And then how do we resolve conflicts? So, paano natin gagawin yan? So, pag-uusapan natin yan sa chapter na to. And is there any type of analysis that could identify possible conflicts before they occur? No? So, dito papasok yung mga control mechanism before it occurs again. No? So, there's a relationship with project objectives and conflicts. No? Each project must have at least one objective. And then the objectives of the project must be made known to all project personnel and all managers at every level of the organization. No? Failure to have that to let people know about the project objectives will affect their output, because there will be different interpretation of the project. Okay, so if this information is not communicated accurately, then it's entirely possible that the upper level managers, the project managers, the functional managers may all have different interpretation of the ultimate jobs, and it invites conflicts. No? Kasi iba't iba kayo ng tingin eh. Parang ganito, halimbawa mag-boyfriend-girlfriend kayo. Ako ay iniisip ko yung kalagayan mo. No? Iniintindi kita. Tapos, yung girlfriend o yung boyfriend mo naman sabi niya, iniintindi din kita. Pero bakit hindi tayo magkaintindihan? Because you have different perspectives, no? Sa kagustuhan nyong intindi ang isa't isa, hindi nyo naintindihan ang isa't isa. 'Di ba? Ito yung mga bagay na madalas nasa telenovela. No? Ginawa ko to kasi akala ko ganyan. Ginawa ko to kasi ganyan. So there should be one perspective on that, and that perspective of the objective is for leaning towards the project's objectives. Okay? So, a project objective must be specific para alam na alam. Walang iba't ibang interpretasyon. Parang ang batas. Dapat ang batas natin ay specific para hindi iba't iba ang interpretasyon. No? So, not overly complex, not that complex, hindi sala sa labat. Measurable, tangible, and verifiable. You know the objectives sa SMART, no? Yung mga systematic, measurable, attainable, uh, realistic, and time-bound. Those are a characteristic of an objective. No? And then establish within resource bound, not just the time bound but also the resource bound. Kaya ba? No? And then consistent with resource available or anticipated, and consistent with organizational plan, policies, and procedures. Parang yung good governance and social responsibility subject natin. Okay? So, kung meron mang hindi tumama dito, it may result in a conflict. Tulad nun, yung established resource bound, baka bitin naman yung resource mo. No? Okay? So, that leads us to what we call management by objective approach, or the MBO. Many projects are directed and controlled using management by objective approach. The philosophy of management by objectives is a proactive rather than a reactive management. Okay? So, you are managing people in accordance with that objective para hindi iba't iba yung interpretation. And then is result oriented, emphasizing accomplishment. So, you are checking whether things are accomplished or not. So that's controlled naman. Focus on change to improve individual organizational effectiveness. No, controlling. No? Okay? So, MBO, or Management by Objectives, is a system approach for aligning project goals with organizational goals. Project goals with the goals of the subunits of the organization, and project goals with individual goals. No? So, underlying yan. Okay? So, systems approach to planning and obtaining project results for an organization is an MBO, no? Sa characteristic. Strategy of meeting individual needs at the same time that project needs are met. And then method of clarifying what each individual organizational units contribute to the project should be. Okay? So those are characteristics of the MBO. No? So there's a planning and obtaining project results of the organization. And then you're checking meeting individuals' need at the same time. You are meeting the needs, no, ng project, no? And clarifying each individual organizational unit's contribution. Okay? So, emphasizing that. So, again, your conflict is inevitable. So, in the project environment, conflicts are inevitable. However, conflicts and their resolution can be planned for. Ulitin ko, can be planned for. Uh, with that fact that conflict cannot be avoided, but they can be planned to be resolved. So for example, conflicts can easily develop out of this situation where members of a group have misunderstanding of each other's roles and responsibility. So, ito yung pinaka-basic na nagiging conflict. Iba't iba tayo ng tingin dun sa responsibility. Ay, sa'yo trabaho yan. Ay, hindi, sa'yo yan. Hindi, sabi ni sir ganyan. Sabi naman sa akin ni, ganyan. No? So, bigyan natin ng linaw. Bigyan natin ng linaw. Conflict arises because of the ambiguity, no, ambiguity and also undocumented things or general things of the what the objective has established, no, through documentation such as linear responsibility chart, and it is possible to establish formal organizational procedure as we've done in staffing and organizing a project team, no, that alam mo kung sino yung magte-take charge dyan. Resolution means collaboration in which people must rely, no. Okay? So without this, mistrust will prevail. So if there will be conflicts, it will be looming to more serious problem in the organization, particularly in the project team. Okay? So what are the most common types of conflicts? No? What are the things that a conflict involve? No? Manpower resources is entails conflict kasi tao yan. Equipment and facilities results into a conflict. Capital expenditure, the costs, technical opinions and trade-offs, priorities, procedures, scheduling entails conflicts, responsibilities, and personality clashes. Yan, personal factors. Okay? Sometimes conflict is meaningful, no? And produces beneficial results. Like if you have two scientists and one is proposing other method, the other one is proposing a conventional method. So it's a good might be beneficial in some ways, no? There should be meaningful conflicts na tinatawag natin, no? Should be permitted to continue as long as project constraints are not violated, no? Kung in-entertain mo naman ang isa sa mga constraint mo, time. Do we have time for this? Pag-awayan natin, alin yung mas magaling na idea. No? So, tingnan mo muna. Conflicts can occur with anyone and over anything. Some people contend that personality conflicts are the most difficult to resolve. As I'm always saying to you, no? This is one of the challenges of project managers and particularly managers, no, in general. In general, managers, problema nila yung how do they handle clashes of personality dahil nga iba't iba tayo ng upbringing. Below are several situations the reader must consider. Okay? So, many executives feel that the best way of resolving conflicts is establishing priorities. What you need to do first. No? These may be true as long as the priorities are not continually shifted around. So, hindi siya nagmo-move, no? Hindi lagi nagbabago, no? So, take note of the following as example. So, you are allocating or you are noting, no? You are deeming, no, that a certain activity has that level of prioritization. Okay, look at this. Level 0 has no completion date. So that means you don't need to rattle, no? So but whenever you do this level 1, level 2, level 3, no, depende sa organization to. But in this scale, no, level 1 is to be completed on or before specific date. So within that period, no? So that's a level 1 priority. Now, level 2 is more on a general date. no? Kasi hindi siya specific date na kailangan habulin mo, no? So to be completed in or before a given fiscal quarter. So a fiscal quarter, so that is about 3 months, no? So at least you know that, and you have that 3 months. And then a level 3 is to be completed within a given year. So knowing these activities, no, alam mo ngayon kung alin ang unahin. Alin ang mabibigyan ng prioridad at mabibigyan ng atensyon sa mga activities na ginagawa mo. Okay? So how do you resolve conflicts ba? Although each project within the company may be inherently different, the company may wish to have resulting conflicts resolved in the same manner. So the four common methods are used. So we have four methods to use in conflict resolution. First, develop a company-wide conflict resolution policies. Ito, MBO approach, MBO approach, that you will be proactive. Okay? So, conflict resolution policy and procedure. Number two, establish a project resolution procedures during early planning activities. So, ito hindi ito company-wide kundi yung mga procedure mo lang. It's still a proactive one, no? Ikatlo, it's on a managerial side, nasa human resource side naman siya. The use of hierarchical referral, no? Kung hindi ko kaya sa level ko, i-escalate ko 'yan. Parang ganon. Then, number four, the requirement of direct contact. No? So, uh, the approach na kailangan ba siya kausapin? Kailangan siya maka face to face? So, let's talk about them independently. First, many company have attempted to develop company-wide policies and procedures for conflict resolution. But this method is often doomed to failure because each project and conflict is different. No? Pero if it is recurring, eto, pwede siya. Pwede itong company-wide. No? Nangyayari siya madalas. No? And it encompasses everyone. Furthermore, project managers, by virtue of their individuality and sometimes differing amounts of authority and responsibility, prefer to resolve conflicts in their own fashion. So, nag nag-i-step down dun sa ikatlong method, no? Makikita natin yung mamaya. So, kanya-kanyang way na lang, no? Kasi nga, hindi na natin to masyadong general yung approach ng company-wide policy and procedure conflict resolution. So, kapag nangyari to, anong gagawin? Diba? Okay. So, a second method for resolving conflicts is one that if often very effective, that is to plan for conflicts during the planning activities. So, you plan that this might happen, and what will you do when things will happen, no, when things like this will happen in the duration of your project, no, which is many of the project management practitioner ang ginagawa. So they set their own guidelines, they set their own procedures, what will they do, no, hindi na yung company-wide, no? Dun sa isang level lang, no? O dito tayo sa hierarchical referral for conflict resolution in theory appears as the best method because neither the project manager nor the functional managers will dominate. Under this arrangement, the project and functional managers agree that the proper balance to exist, their common superior must resolve the conflict. So, i-escalate natin to sa mas nakakataas sa atin para pag-usapan. No? Ito yung madalas na ginagawa ng iba, lalo na kapag wala silang plano. But unfortunately, this is not realistic because the common superiors cannot be expected to continually resolve lower level conflicts. It's not happening all the time. No? But nangyayari siya in the fashion that um, para sa mga walang mga policies, no, or mga guidelines na naplano. Okay? And lastly, the last method is direct contact, in which conflicting parties meet face to face and resolve their disagreement. So naalala ko yung palabas na face to face, and in fact nasa Facebook memes natin nung face to face pang klase. And it hits different, 'di ba? Kapag face to face. So when there's disagreement, mas malaya tayo nakakapagsalita, no? Nasabi natin mali, sinasabi natin yung nararamdaman natin. Unfortunately, this method does not always work and continually stressed and can result in conditions. Remember, hindi naman lahat tumatanggap, no? Kanya nga 'di ba, sa inyong mga open forum nung high school kayo, even in college, no, ay kapag may confrontation, kapag may open forum tayo, it might solve the problem in some occasions, but it continues the stress, no? Minsan dahil merong ayaw tumanggap, ayaw namang magpakumbaba, nagtutuloy-tuloy lang yung friction sa mga grupo o factions sa mga grupo sa mga tao sa grupo ninyo. Okay? So, uh, you need as a project manager to understand your subordinate and functional superior and the functional conflicts, no, yung mga lines, so yung nasa baba, no? In order for the project managers to be effective, he must understand how to work with various employees, no, who interface with the project, no. These employees include upper level management. So there's there's a certain skill, what they call interpersonal skill, wherein kung ikaw ay project manager, eto executive, nasa taas sila, tapos meron ka mga subordinates. So, nasa gitna ka. So, how you deal with the executives? How do you deal with these people? So, kailangan meron kang ang tawag doon is being people smart. No? Okay, quite often the project manager must demonstrate an ability to continuous adaptability by creating different work environment with each group of employee. No? Depende. Alam mo kung paano ka makibagay. Hindi pagiging plastic yun, kundi syempre you're targeting them to be motivated and achieve your objectives. No? Napakahirap ng role ng isang project manager. So, relationship between sources and conflict causes. Take a look at this diagram. Okay? So, as you can see, these are the sources of conflicts na nasa taas. So, the sources of conflicts are functional manager, the functional personnel, between project personnel, superiors, and subordinates. So, uh, meron bang mga causes sa conflict sa schedule between functional managers? Yes, because they need to cope up with the schedules. They need to cope up with the priorities, no? The manpower, technical, all of those functional managers encounter those conflicts, no? The cost, personality of people, procedures, they encounter all of those. Personnel the same kasi that they are under the functional managers, no? Between project personnel, ang mga priorities lang ang nagkakaroon ng conflict, yung technical aspect because they are on the technical side, and then yung personality. And as you can see, what is only the source of conflict, no, nandyan sa lahat ng mga type of people is the personality, because those are depending on how we talk, no, our beliefs or attitudes, no? So you may check on this sa ating lecture. So management of conflicts, good project managers realize that conflicts are inevitable, but that good procedures or techniques can help resolve them. Hindi mo maiwasan pero pwede mong mai-solve, no? So, once a conflict occurs, the project managers must first study the problem and collect all available information. Balik tayo sa good governance is social responsibility. Develop a situational approach or methodology and set the appropriate atmosphere of the climate. So, what are the logical steps in confrontation meeting? No? So, what do you do when you do confrontation? Setting the climate, establishing, kasi ito, gugulo yan, no? Manggugulo yung mga yan, no? Also, the steps on conflict minimization procedure. So, how do you minimize the conflict? No? Pausing and thinking before reacting, building trust, trying to understand the conflict motives, keeping the meeting under control, listening to all involved parties, ethicality to. No, maintaining a give and take attitude, no, yung mutual respect, educating other tactfully on your views, and then being willing to say when you were wrong and not acting as Superman kasi hindi mo naman lahat kayang gawin, no? So that's how you minimize conflicts, no? So Effective manager in conflict problem situation knows the organization. Alam mo kung ano yung organization. Listens with understanding. These are should be what you possess. No? Ito yung makasanayan mo. No? Rather than evaluation, clarifies the nature of the conflict, understand the feeling of others, suggests of the procedure for resolving differences, and maintains relationship with disputing parties, facilitate the communication process, and seeks resolution. No? Okay. So we have different modes how we make conflict resolutions. There are different ways. No, na nabanggit din kanina yung confrontation, yung confronting or collaborating, compromising, smoothing off or accommodating, forcing or competing, and avoiding or withdrawing. So, let's talk about confronting. With this approach, the conflicting parties meet face to face and try to work through their disagreement. So, that's a bull session. Uh, Palitan kayo ng ng idea. Minsan mainit pa nga kayo eh. This approach should focus more on solving the problem and less on being combative. Should be. So anong role mo bilang project manager there if there will be confrontation? No, of course you need to maintain, no? You maintain yung atmosphere. So this approach is collaboration and integration where both parties need to win. No? Kasi nga they are confronting each other. So this method should be used when you and the conflicting party can get at least what you wanted and maybe more, no? So tinitingnan mo no kung alin yung pwedeng makuha. For to reduce the cost, you are confronting paano, ano yung best way, confrontation, to create a common power base, to attack a common foe, yung mga salungat, when skills are complementary, no? One skill complements to another na makikita nyo yung kung ano yung pwedeng gawin, no? When there's enough time, no? One thing about that confrontation, kapag may time lang, no? Kasi kung walang time, ma-hamper yung activities. And then when there is trust, should be. Kung walang trust, walang magbababa diyan. No, hindi maayos 'yan. Parang sa sa classroom, no? When they have confidence in the other person's ability and when the ultimate objective is to learn. That's confronting. Now, how about compromising when it is used? Papan kailan ka nagko-kompromiso? So to compromise is to bargain or to search for solution so both parties live with some degree of satisfaction. So nandun ka sa win-win or sa give and take. Compromising is often the result of confrontation. So some people argue that compromise is a give and take approach, which leads to a win-win position. So others that compromise is a lose-lose position since neither party gets everything he or she wants, no? It's either win-win or lose-lose, no? Kailan nangyayari to? When both parties need to be winners. So when you can't win, di ka pwedeng manalo. When others are as strong as you are, no? Parang merong magbibigay or parang pareho kayo ng power. When you haven't time when you don't have time to win, no? You cannot plead your case to maintain your relationship with your opponent, and then when you are not sure you are right, no? Ganito yung nangyayari sa mga trade-off sa mga bansa eh. They are compromising each other, no? So when you are not sure you are right, so when you got nothing if you don't, and when stakes are moderate, to avoid giving impressions of fighting, that's compromising. Okay? So we also have what we call smoothing, no? Konti na lang to. This approach is an attempt to reduce the emotions that exist, no? From the word smoothing, no? Pinipino mo o kaya you make it smooth o fluid. This is accomplished by emphasizing areas of agreement and de-emphasizing areas of disagreement, no? So an example of smoothing would be to tell someone, we have agreed on 3 of the 5 points, And there's no reason why we cannot agree on the last 2 points. So that's smoothing. You're polishing. No? So kailan mo pwedeng gamitin to to reach an overarching goal, to create obligations for trade-off of a latter date, no? O, total, dito na rin tayo, gawin na natin to. Parang ganon. When the stakes are low, of course, when liability is limited and to maintain harmony, no? Kumbaga, nothing to lose. Okay? So, how about when you do forcing, no? As part of your conflict resolution method, no? So, this is what happened when one party tries to impose the solution to other party. Conflict resolution works best when resolution is achieved at the lowest possible levels. No? So, the higher up the conflict goes, the greater the tendency for conflict to be forced, with the result being win-lose situation. So, uh, kailan nagagamit ang forcing? When you are right. You are imposing. When a do or die situation exists, when stakes are high. No? Kasi kailangan i-force ko to. No? Kailangan ito'y gawin. No? Kakaiba siya sa compromising and also yung smoothing natin. No? So about avoiding, you know, magugulat ka na one way to um, to solve a conflict is by avoiding, no? One step siya. Avoidance is often regarded as temporary solution to the problem. Minsan, 'di ba? Yung pinakamaganda sagot ay katahimikan, ang sabi ng iba. Huwag ka sumagot. The problem and the resulting conflicts can come up again and again. Some people view avoiding as cowardice and unwillingness to be responsive to a situation. No? Pero nagagamit siya sa mga sitwasyon tulad ng hindi naman ako mananalo. So i-avoid ko muna. So when the stakes are low, o wala namang mawawala, o payagan mo na muna 'yan. You need, avoid o pabayaan na muna, no? Okay, to gain time, no? That that differs your time to think as well, no? That's avoiding. No, 'di ba? Di mo na kami magsasalita. Baka kasi magkamali ka, stakes are high doon eh. 'Di ba? Okay? To unnerve your opponent, o kumbaga, pahupain yung sitwasyon, to preserve neutrality or the reputation, and when you think the problem will go away, so that means there's no sense of urgency, no, nung problem, no, so you don't need to prioritize. So that's a way to solve resolve a conflict. Okay? So, we move on to chapter 8 with special topics, pero hindi na muna natin to pag-uusapan in this YouTube video, no? So, special topics will cover the performance measurement, compensation and rewards, managing small projects, morality, ethics, internal partnership, external partnership, training and education, integrated project teams. But what I would like to emphasize in this last part of the video is uh, these are parts of the project wherein nakapaloob dun sa mga nabanggit, like just like the conflict, but it focus more on the human resources, and these topics are talking about those idea na madalang pag-usapan din, no? But also affecting conflicts and time management, no? Performance measurement, the compensation and rewards, that gives that pushes motivation of people, 'di ba? In an organization. Their morality, ethics, and the corporate culture affect decision making, and also the belief and also trust of people in the organization. So, more of that, no, sa ating live discussion, but this is concerning more about the good governance, social responsibility topics. Okay? I will end it in this part, no? But continuing some in the next YouTube video. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you on to the next one.